I was 5 years of age, I remember my mother bringing in a wagon load of wheat to the elevator in town. Partway into town, the box was designed with a dual end gate, and the lower section of the end gate bulged out, pushed out, and the grain nearly disappeared. And we had to spend considerable time scooping the grain ahead at that time to push that end gate back into place and then proceed into town. When we arrived in town, we crossed on the east old crossing in Cupar here to the elevator, and the train happened to come in. And the noise was irritable to our horses because the horses just started to stampede. And we had an awful time getting the horses settled down so that we could get that load of grain unloaded and get ready to go back home again.
Celebrating the past, memories, stories, experiences. All these people have relevant things to say, even though they may not be convinced of that. And a lot of the stories are all very similar, but they intertwine nicely. So I think it'll be a wonderful thing to try and piece them all together and put basically you're going to take their stories and put some sounds that are applicable for the period that they're talking about, or the subject matter, like threshing, or whistles of different tractors, or trains coming in, first train, different stories about the war, whatever is relevant to them, basically.
Because it's an audio project, is that correct?
Yeah, we moved out here about 7 years ago, and people were talking, and they were saying, we should record this fellow or this fellow, and then, then a year goes by and that fellow passes away, and then the stories are gone, and chances are they never wrote them down. So that, oral history isn't lost, because books don't really do it justice. When you hear the person talk, and you see the expressions, and you see, how much it meant to them.
In the 30s, we hauled water from McKinnon's. Very often it was scruffy and green if it was low. When before wash days, we would probably fill 3 or 4 barrels with water, and my mother would put wood ashes in each pail and stir it, and that happened 3 or 4 times before Mondays. And the wood ashes softened the water and settled on the scum. Then we would take that water off. It was relatively clear and clean. We'd strain it, we'd heat it for washing, and washing was done by hand on the washboard in those days.
Without power, like wash day, it was all day long on the washboard, and by the time you were finished, your knuckles were bleeding. And then to try and, especially in winter, try and get that stuff dry, maybe 20 below zero, and you're out there hanging clothes into that cold. Times were tough. People nowadays have no idea how hard it was. How hard, especially the women, how hard they had to work.
We had dust storms like you wouldn't believe. It would start and blow for about 3 days. There would be dust on the windowsills. You would turn, when you set the table, you turned your plates upside down, or they would be dust in those plates. The houses had no insulation. That dirt just came through. And lots of days you couldn't see from the barn to the house.
It was very tough. We were hard put sometimes to have food on the table because it didn't rain. We'd get from the Maritimes, they'd ship out these bags of potatoes, and we'd go and get our couple bags of potatoes, and they usually had something else in them. One time in the top of the bag there was a bunch of little red apples. They were eating apples, but they're not as big as the Macintosh, and a pure red all around. Another time, at the top of the bag, they had 2 cans of corned beef, Another time in a bag was a couple of turnips. And you know, things like, oh, and another time a quart jar of pure strawberry jam. Boy, that was something to get that when you had nothing.
It had some good old days there. Our fairgrounds at that time had a full track all the way around. And the Indians would come from miles away, and they would have, they had a tall, on power poles where the judges would sit up on. And Allie Lynch and Shorty Corbett, and they were the main judges. And the track was a half a mile. And that was a big attraction on July the 1st. Usually all was in, there was hundreds and hundreds of people would come there, and they had ball games and whatnot, but the horse races was the big thing.
There's quite a few people had bigger horses, full-size horses, you know. Some of our neighboring Indians had their horses that bring them in. They're usually the ones that won the races. Ones our neighbors had were too fat or something.
Nearly everybody played ball and played hockey. And that was the big thing, you know. And sports days were great. You'd play ball, you'd ride horses, you'd go running and high jump and hop, skip and jump and everything to make a nickel, you know.
You were saying they fished with a pitchfork?
Yeah, fish.
With a pitchfork?
Yeah. You know, but the creek wasn't that deep. You know, it was running on, and there was in our field over there was big stones in the bottom of the creek, and that's they used to like to. They said the fish used to like to stay there and kind of warm or rest or whatever, and they would go, if they could go there quiet and put the pitchfork under the fish, they would just step it out from there. And once it flips out on the ground where the fish couldn't swim.
I heard about Prairie Echo, and I think I found out about it on the second last day that when the proposals had to be in, and I went, oh, hey, this is sort of what I'm doing. Like that. And Commonweal is a non-profit organization that helped fund this project and have been nothing but supportive, and I'm really lucky to find them. And they suggested that, and actually Wes Bailey at the museum said that might be a nice thing to show them something. At that time, I was thinking just having a tea and stuff, but you know, I think everybody's curious as to what they said, and they've probably even forgot. Keep in mind when you watch this, this was for an audio project. It will, I hope, barring funding, become a larger film about Q Park, and that's why I videotaped everybody while I was doing it. And this is probably the best way to show you guys, you know, how you did. Grab some food, get yourself all ready to watch some TV, and we got about a half-an-hour video to watch.
Because even when you caught the 30 or 40 gophers, there was still a whole bunch of gophers around. Whereas later on the gopher population went down. There's hardly any gophers around now, but at that time that was unreal. There was gophers everywhere.
So you would get gopher tails.
Oh yeah, you take the gopher tails and you get, I don't know, 1 or 2 pennies a piece for tails. And that was something, because we never had any money in those days. It was just money wasn't available. So 1 or 2 pennies looked like big money at that time.
Well, as a matter of fact, we won the Canadian Army Championship in England in 1941 and 42, which was softball, but not baseball. But
In England?
yeah. Yeah, we were pretty lucky. We were excused all that army junk to play ball as long as we were winning. Jeez, drinking beer, chasing girls, and playing ball. And when you went overseas, which I spent most of my time overseas, you had to send home $20 a month or defer it. They would keep it for you till after the war. And you're getting $39 a month, so you're getting $19 a month to spend, and $20 was either kept for you or you sent it home, you know. But didn't really need any money because there was lots of ways to make money in the army, that's for sure. None of which were legitimate, but still.
But it was a common practice.
Yeah, right. Everybody was doing it.
We had one casualty. And one almost casualty. The plane I was looking after, one of the two planes I was looking after, was flying one day on the mission. The co-pilot got up out of a seat and went back to talk to some of the other guys that were with him. When they came back, there was a hole in the seat. Bullet, small bullet, high-powered rifle or something, and nailed the bucket he was supposed to be sitting in. And he was lucky boy that time. He kind of had the shivers when he came back. He had to smooth out his seat before he could sit down.
I think pretty near a third of the town was in the forces. Can't tell you offhand how many boys lost their life in the war, most of them overseas already.
Our aircraft was shot down in 1943. Been a prisoner of war for 2.5 years.
There's no good memories there.
Oh, they're good.
Yeah?
I made the best of everything, or tried to. When the aircraft I was in was shot down over North Africa, right near the end of what they call the African campaign. And I moved to Italy quickly. But I was escaped 2 twice.
And you actually got away.
One was when the Italians quit. And we just literally walked out. And then we weren't gone long, and the Germans picked us up again shortly. This is where I made friends, and short time. Then after being recaptured, we were on our way to Germany, and one of my friends had a screwdriver, and we took the bars out of the windows on the carriage and jumped out. So 9 months later I got caught again. I went to Germany. All my friends wanted to escape, but I didn't feel like it anymore. They didn't either. But you have friends forever there in those things.
Before that, nobody drank. And once Prohibition came in, everybody was making home brew, including me. My husband liked to read all these little classified ads, and they were advertising flavors, to put into brew. Scotch and rye and gin and vodka and rum, I guess 6, that you could get these flavors to flavor, because those would be pure alcohol that you'd get. So he sent for it to the States, and it had to go through customs, of course. And one day, if a Mountie doesn't show up at the door, wants to know what I'm using those flavors for, because it was the days of the Prohibition. So I had to think fast, because you're caught brewing, you're in trouble. Well, I says, I use it for flavor around my cooking. I don't know if he believed me or not, but he let it go. Maybe he figured, oh, well, that little creature, she can't be too, cause too much damage here.
Farmer's son, he said he had this dynamite out in the back of a old thrash machine, and he wanted to get rid of it. I said, well, how many sticks did he put in? Oh, I don't know, he said. Well, I said, how many did you tell him? Oh, a few. Well, it was unreal. all of us. And he didn't even have the rain backhoe sitting there. He'd moved it away over, so I knew there was something. Anyway, it went off, and I'll tell you, it was unbelievable. The peak on the front of the barn, this cupola that comes out, it took off all the boards out of there. It broke all the windows in the front of the barn. And there was a couple of old horses leaning over the edge of the fence, and I'll never forget that. Just poof, they took the fence and all with them, and across the field they went.
Oh, goodness, Sharon, she ate what she used to be. And the other guy says, no, she never was. That was on the record.
And there you go.
The stories were really good.
Isn't it something too when you
Interesting.
hear your voice? When you hear your voice coming from a tape or from a...
Yeah, but you can remember. It's so wonderful that you have to do
Oh, no, I thought they sounded really good, but it's just, I know...
Oh, it was great. You know, they bring back really good memories and are reminded of things that maybe forgotten about.
Glad you lasted.
The old gray mare, she ain't what she used to be, ain't what she used to be, ain't what she used to be. The old gray mare, she ain't what she used to be, many long years ago. Many long years ago, many long years ago. Oh, the old gray mare, she ain't what she used to be, many long years ago. Well, she may be old and lean, but she don't need gasoline. She flips her tail at a Ford and a Cadillac, kicks at a Pontiac, acts like a jumping jack. The old gray mare, she ain't what she used to be,